2025, but we got backed up today. So we're doing the March 17th, 2025 early. So this will cover all of the day's stories before to help you out. Happy St. Patty's Day. And we're celebrating by Gaza Go Boom. Basically, the ceasefire in the Middle East between Hamas and Israel is gone. So there will be fighting and more. Everything is escalating there, and we're going to cover it all. So if I could have you go hit buttons and stuff and do all the things all of us YouTubers tell you to do, that would be great. I don't know if it helps or not, but it makes you feel good, right? So we're going to get started. I appreciate you. And, I know it's late. So this one's for my West Coast homies. So let's get started. Let's get started on your crisis report for March 17th, 2025. Here we go. Approval of the Democratic Party amongst Americans has dropped to 29%, lowest level ever recorded. But don't you worry. Our good friends here on this platform are going to just keep on keeping on with the whole suppression of conservative thoughts and views, even though most of the country now is kind of aligning with that. Nope, not anymore. They gotta hold the line. So keep doing it. See how far it gets you. Israel reportedly convinced the Trump administration to strike the Yemeni Houthis. Both nations agreed. First step towards potential attack on Iran, and that's the big worry. Vatican released a photo of the Pope inside the hospital suite chapel, but his full face remained unseen. Yemen's supreme leader has announced a ban on all American ships entering the Red Sea, effective immediately. Well, that gets challenged. Don Lemon claims that every single black Trump supporter is not a rational thinker. Thanks, buddy. I don't think you're cornering the market on rational thought. President Trump announced that the Epstein and JFK files will be swiftly released in the coming weeks. So, JFK, got an update on that. We'll get to it. French lawmaker demands the return of the Statue of Liberty, arguing that the United States no longer upholds its founding values. Okay. There's a joke about the French with the Statue of Liberty. French are so lazy they couldn't even bring the statue on shore. They just left it out in the bay. Excuse me. Ba-dum-bum. 9 U.S. tankers, all flying under the call sign Gold, are in the air, while a significant number of fighter jets being repositioned, likely for deployment to the Middle East. Yes, all H-double hockey sticks is breaking and going to continue to break loose out there. Trump said that he is avoiding all of the last-minute pardons former President Joe Biden made using his auto pen. Mexican President Sheinbaum reports that her phone and email have been hacked. That sucks. Dan Bongino, now sworn in as Deputy Director of the FBI. Benjamin Netanyahu, due to ongoing distrust, I have decided to bring to the government a proposed resolution that terminates position of the head of the Shin Bet. Citizens of Israel, we are in the midst of a war of our very existence, a war on 7 fronts at all times, but especially in such an existential war, Prime Minister must have full confidence in the head of the Shin Bet. But unfortunately, the situation is the other way around. I don't know that I don't have that kind of trust. I have a continuing distrust of the head of the Shin Bet, a distrust that has grown over time. Due to this ongoing lack of trust, I decided this week to bring to the government a proposed resolution to terminate the position of the head of the Shin Bet. I want to make it clear I am full of appreciation for the women and men of the Shin Bet They do dedicated and important work for the security of us all. As for the Prime Minister in charge of the Shin Bet, I am certain that this step is necessary for the rehabilitation of the organization, for achieving our war goals, and for preventing the next disaster. There's reports of the killing of Abdul Rabu Jafan, who was responsible for the personal and intelligence security of Houthi leader Abdul al-Malek al-Houthi and the organization's internal security mechanisms in yesterday's attack. Over the past few hours, the IDF struck a Radwan Force Command and Control Center and structures used by Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. Presence of these terror infrastructure sites constitutes a blatant violation of the understandings between Israel and Lebanon. IDF will not allow this kind of activity and will act against it. IDF will strike armed terrorists in southern Lebanon and will operate in order to remove any threat to the state of Israel. Them's fighting words. Why is this tension rising? A group from Hezbollah's militia ambushed and kidnapped 3 Syrian Arab army soldiers near the Zeta Dam, west of Homs, on the Syrian-Lebanese border. They were then taken into Lebanese territory and executed on the spot. Syrian army now targets multiple Hezbollah positions. Yemen's Houthis claim the United States jets carried out precision strikes on the command tower of the Israeli ship Galaxy Leader. Galaxy Leader is a Bahamas-flagged Japanese operator vehicle carrier. It was seized by Houthis on November 19th, 2023, near Hodeidah, Yemen. Ship was targeted due to its ties to Israeli businessman Rami Unger. U.S. considers the vessel stolen property. For those who are confused, they did not do this, or they did this for 2 reasons. First, there were Ansarullah members on deck, and second, Ansarullah uses the ship as a trophy of war, displaying it as a popular attraction and propaganda win. Lebanese newspaper Al-Akhbar claims the United States Air Force planes that attacked Yemen took off from the aircraft carrier Harry Truman, CVN-75, Al-Dhafra base, United Arab Emirates, and from the Al-Udeid base in Qatar. British refueling planes were also assisted them in the skies over Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Al-Akhbar newspaper effectively criminalizes Qatar, the Arab Emirates, and Saudi Arabia in anticipation of a significant response by the Houthis. That could include firing missiles and drones at targets in those countries. Hamas is going to prepare for a return to fighting. IDF recently eliminated 3 terror people there in the Al-Burej refugee camp area in the center of the Gaza Strip after they attempted to plant an explosive device. Lavrov to Rubio, halt U.S. military action against the Houthis immediately. It's interesting that the Russians never said the same thing to the Houthis regarding their attack on international trade and direct missile strikes and drone strikes towards Israel. CNN has published satellite images of date March 15th, Ides of March, showing a mass grave by the Jolani's forces in the village of Al-Sunabur, Latakia province on Jolani, got messed up. Concealed by his Alawite victims of the massacre carried out by Jolani's forces. CBS report, U.S. and Israel were interested in the possibility of Gazans migrating to Syria. The U.S. administration even tried to contact new government there were through a third party, but it is unclear whether the Syrians responded. New report has detailed how the BBC edited footage to downplay Hamas's treatment of the hostages. BBC is truly nothing more than a terror propaganda. British taxpayers should be completely outraged. They deserve more, frankly. Yemen, the Houthis in Sana'a organized a popular power demonstration today in Al Subayn Square in Sana'a in support of Gaza and opposition to Trump's policy following the recent attack. Stranded U.S. astronauts to return to Earth on Tuesday, according to NASA. Elon has come and gotten them, and they are safe as of right now. South Africa says it's improving its relationship with the U.S. It's a priority. U.S. is going to withdraw from the group investigating responsibility for Ukraine invasion. Prime Minister Mark Carney says Canada must reinforce ties with reliable allies like France. Elon Musk says judges who repeatedly flout the law should at least be put on an impeachment vote, whether that vote succeeds or not. Canada Prime Minister Mark Carney invited Zelensky to the G7 summit in June. Sorry. On the Biden op-ed, are those executive orders, those pardons, now null and void? President Trump, I think so. It's not my decision. That'll be up to court. But I would say that they are null and void because I'm sure Biden didn't have any idea it was taking place at all. Three German citizens have recently been denied entry into the United States and placed on detention, leading Berlin to question if there had been a possible change in American immigration policy. Prime Minister of Peru declares a state of emergency in the capital of Lima. Hours ago, far-right Popular Renewal Party called on the very popular leftist administration of Dina Boluarte to take action following a wave of assassination and bombing attacks in Peru, where even a popular singer, Paul Flores, El Russo, was murdered in nightclubs and were attacked with bombs. Among the actions, resignation of the Interior Minister of Peru, replacement of Peruvian National Police General Commander, declaration of state of exception, martial law, total reorganization of judiciary power, removal of Peru from the Inter-American Human Rights Court, centralization of all intelligence services under the National Police, and the Peruvian nationalists wish their condolences on to Paul Flores. Trump is sending a message to Iran. He said every shot fired by the Houthis will be looked upon from this point forward as being a shot fired from the weapons and leadership of Iran, and Iran will be held responsible and suffer the consequences if those consequences will be dire. Navy MQ-4C Triton has been conducting surveillance over Bushehr all day. Bushehr hosts Iran's Bashar nuclear power plant. ABC News reports that DHS has arrested Lebanese terrorist Dr. Rasha Alawiya, who holds a U.S. H-1B work visa, after reports that photos and videos identifying him with Hezbollah were found on her phone. Lebanese army says heavy shelling from the Syrian side targeted Hosh Sayed Ali area in Hamel. Our units responded with appropriate weapons and our strengthening defenses to stop the attacks. U.S. State Department, South Africa's Ambassador Ibrahim Rasool, he is now persona non grata. Israel's military censorship allowed publication that Israel had identified an unusual event in the Gaza Strip that indicates Hamas is organizing for another attack on Israel with a ground invasion. IDF is currently attacking military targets in southern Syria, including military headquarters and containing weapons, military equipment of the old Syrian regime, which they're currently trying to use. Presence of that means in southern Syria constitutes a threat to the state of Israel. IDF will not allow a military threat to exist in southern Syria and will not act against it. Germany plans to send $300 million to the Syrian interim government just days after they took out 7,000 Alawites, other minorities. Statement by the Pentagon: we will use excessive lethal force until the goal is achieved in Yemen. Raids on Yemen are not endless attack and are not aimed at regime change. Our forces recently launched a series of precision strikes against the Houthis to restore freedom of navigation and reestablish American deterrence. With the return of President Trump, the era of peace through strength has returned. And we will be using overwhelming lethal force to achieve our goals. All right, sorry. Our first wave of strikes in Yemen hit more than 30 targets, including Houthi training ground. Iran sent aid to Hamas and Hezbollah and provided the Houthis with reconnaissance and intelligence systems. President Trump just announced the release of the JFK files tomorrow. People have been waiting for decades. Yes, they have. Initial from Iran: Iranian fighter jets flying in the country, skies, air, and bases are all on full alert. Reliable Iranian sources report an increase in the number of flights by the Revolutionary Guard fighter jets in Iranian skies. Iraqi foreign minister says we have received messages indicating that the Zionist entity intends to launch a series of attacks against our country. U.S. Department of Defense: 3 American aircraft carriers are making their way to the Middle East. In a report, Iran attempted to intercept an American MQ-9 reconnaissance drone a short time ago in Iranian skies using Iranian Navy fighting jets. Well, at least 200 terror are eliminated in the Gaza Strip after the end of the ceasefire. President Trump, Hamas, the Houthis, Iran, and anyone who seeks to terrorize Israel and the United States will pay a heavy price. So the Gaza ceasefire is over. This is the big news of the night. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Defense Minister Israel Katz have instructed the IDF to act forcefully against the terror organization Hamas in the Gaza Strip. Decision comes after Hamas repeatedly refused to release our hostages and reject all our proposals. Where was I? presented by the U.S. President Envoy Steve Witkoff, other mediators. At this moment, the IDF is striking Hamas targets across the Gaza Strip to achieve the war's objectives, as well as set by the political leadership, including the release of all hostages, both living and fallen. From this point, Israel will escalate its military operations against Hamas with increasing intensity. Operational plan was presented by the IDF last weekend and has been approved by the political leadership. There we go. White House spokeswoman, Israel consulted with the Trump administration. The White House is in advance on the attacks in Gaza. As President Trump has made clear, Hamas, the Houthis, Iran, and everyone who seeks to terrorize, well, not only Israel, but also the United States will pay a heavy price. Gates of hell will open, he's saying. Dramatic Israeli surprise attack on the Gaza Strip, extensive buildings in the south, north, and center of the Strip. Sisi says Egypt's monthly losses of the Suez Canal revenues reached 800 million due to regional weather situation. Trump administration is considering recognizing Crimea as a Russian territory and potential Ukraine peace deal. Officials have also discussed urging the United Nations to do the same, aligning with Putin's stance. Zelensky says that over 3,000-kilometer range UAV has passed tests, also reviewing the long Neptune strike missiles, satisfying what more production is needed. They're not going to give those things up yet. Syrian defense minister agreement reached with Lebanese defense ministry to cease fire on the border, enhance coordination and cooperation. Iran's IRGC Air Force says we will shoot down any hostile aircraft entering our airspace. That is basically a warning to America. Number of civilians killed in the attacks in Gaza has risen to 200. Forever 21 has filed for bankruptcy. White House rejects call by the French member of the European Parliament for the return of the Statue of Liberty, saying that France would be speaking German if they hadn't gotten their help in World War II. Texas has made its first arrest of an abortion provider, Ken Paxton announced. President Trump has pulled the Secret Service details of Hunter Biden and Ashley Biden effective immediately. Trump says he is authorizing his administration to immediately begin producing energy with coal. Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis has been ordered to pay more than $54,000 for violating the state's open records laws. Taiwan says it has detected 59 Chinese aircraft around the island. It's a lot. Elon Musk alleges that the U.S. government generates money out of thin air through magic money, computers issuing trillions in unbacked payments. That's what we call the Federal Reserve, dude. Stick with the times, man. Plane crash. At least 15 people crashed off the coast of Honduras Bay Islands. Moscow again accusing Europe of waging war in Ukraine because of sending peacekeeping troops. Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Alexander Grushko boasts a lot about the being a defensive alliance, but the real story of the alliance consists of military operations, series of aggressions, and the military diplomat fantasize. Washington will retain its status as the main defender with their nuclear deterrence in Eastern Europe. He called for discussions around the idea of a French nuclear umbrella, not that weaken the confidence in the umbrella that already exists. Today, Europe, this is Macron, and I emphasize today that it is protected by NATO nuclear umbrella. It is based on the nuclear arsenal of the US and UK. It is a model that works. EU Council approves 3.5 billion tranche payment to Ukraine under macro financial program. European nations debate a return to conscription amid Trump's turnaround on Russia. Europe could need 300,000 more troops to deter the possible aggression by the Russians, in addition to its 1.47 million strong military. European nations debate a return to the conscription amidst Trump's turnaround on Russia. Europe could need 300,000 more troops to deter a possible aggression by Russia, in addition to its $1.47 million activity or active duty military personnel, study for the Bruegel think tank and the Kiel Institute said. The U.S. has put all of its base in the CENTCOM area on high alert. And Trump has ordered 35 naval ships and 1,750 Marines to the Middle East. All right, friends, that's it. That is your crisis report. We hope you hit the like buttons and stuff. God bless you all. Check out the links in the description, and we will see you on the next one. PrepperNow out.